She is like a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
She's full grown. A little bitch. Hey.
She can sit still. Just be comfortable.
Yeah. She thought I called her.
She probably smells my dog because I clean this house like once a month. So.
Like twice since his death.
No, not since his death. I have to keep his memory alive.
Yeah, you're afraid to wash it away.
Yeah. So, all right, jabronis, we're back. We're here with special guest, Kerri No Name. Very excited for this. We've been talking about this actually for a long time.
We have.
And I've been telling everybody about it for also a long time. And they think you're fake.
Yeah.
They think I'm a liar because I say a lot of shit that I never follow through on. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
This is very exciting for me and everybody in the LPDS community. So
yes, I had to make you look bad for a little bit. Now I'm
yeah, I mean, I do that myself pretty well anyway.
Right.
But the fact that now I had somebody like helping me look bad, it was great.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so thanks for being here.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for bringing your dog too. I love dogs, so I'm super happy about that as well.
Yeah, she is too. She's kind of making herself at home right now. So
yeah, just taking shits in the house. Yeah. I'm used to it. Trust me.
We don't know. It'll be a nice surprise when we walk out there.
Yeah, I'll smell it later with this schnoz, so it's all good. But I have a lot of shit I want to talk to you about. There's a lot of shit I know we can't talk about, but you're in the military.
Yes.
You're also like pretty Instagram famous, I'd say.
Yeah, accidentally, but I would maybe partially say that is true. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to get into a little bit of that because I'm fascinated by celebrity
status.
Yeah. That world that people live in that, that realm. So, and then we'll just shoot the shit. I want to talk about the Nats game too.
Yes.
That we hung
our
out
first meeting.
Yeah. That was a shit show in itself. But first we'll take care of some business. I told you how kind of this works. So we'll do the cage fact and then we'll shoot the shit and see where it goes. All right. So we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Try to read my chicken scratch here. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Corey's Men's Corsets. Are some of you lazy beta bitch boys out there in the junction carrying a little extra weight in the gut and mammary area, and you're too lazy and stupid to exercise and diet to lose that weight? Well, with a Corey's corset, now you don't have to. You see, with a Corey's, all you have to do is slap that bad boy on around that mega midsection, pull tight on the patented Corey clasps, and your fat gut and man tits will be hidden faster than you can heat up a Hot Pocket. And it remains hidden under your sauce-stained sports jerseys. So to get your first corset today, visit www.muffintop.com and use the promo code diabetes for type 2% off your first corset. Reputable business.
Riveting.
All the sponsors here are reputable. They offer great deals. They know what the people want.
Yeah.
People don't want to exercise.
They don't.
They don't want to do any of that shit. So Thank you, Corey, for that.
Thanks, Corey.
All right. So I have a cage fact, and I think you have a cage story.
I do have a cage story.
Yeah. So I'll give the cage fact real quick. This is for all the diehard cage fans out there. So he's got a movie that came out like last month, independent film, shocker, because apparently he can't get regular work anymore.
It's the best one.
Bastard. Yeah. It's called Prisoners of the Ghostland. Now you got to go check this trailer out because it's wild. The story premise is that he's a prisoner, doesn't tell you what he's a prisoner for. I don't want to know either. And he gets sprung from prison by some weirdo rich guy whose daughter was kidnapped. And the premise is he needs Nick Cage's expertise to find his kidnapped daughter and save her. But because he doesn't trust Cage because of his storied past or whatever, he straps him in this leather suit that has like explosives all over it. And if he can't find his daughter in like a certain time frame, I guess he explodes.
Wow.
So Nick Cage was quoted as saying, hold on, let me make sure I get this right. It's the wildest movie I've ever made.
Whoa.
And if you watch any Nick Cage movie, they're all the wildest movies I've ever
Exactly.
seen. So
He's just progressively, they're getting more wild.
Yeah,
So
which I don't know if it's possible.
I don't know.
Have you seen Face Off?
Oh, shit. I mean, that kind of sounds like a sequel to Con Air, possibly. Maybe it's we don't know.
Another one.
But it's like after the
is,
plane crashed and he got away and
he got arrested.
He got arrested again.
Yeah,
they found his
wife or something, and they're just like, get back in prison.
Gotcha, bitch.
So I'm gonna watch it.
You have to,
and then
I'm gonna watch it.
Let everybody know about it. Yeah, we can review it. But you have a real Cage experience.
Yes,
and I'm jealous. I don't know anything about it. Mello's taking my Luigi doll as we speak. Yeah. Go ahead, Mello.
You can have that.
Go ahead. But anyway, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So I lived in Long Beach, California for several years, and this is pre-military.
So just for life?
Just for life experience. Yeah, I moved out there. So I was either going to my gym or leaving my gym, and it wasn't uncommon to see movies being filmed in that area.
Yeah.
I don't even know what movie he was filming at the time. This was like 2010, maybe it was Gone in 60 Seconds. I don't know. Ooh. One of the good ones, probably.
They're all good.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm biased.
So I had seen him maybe talking to like a producer or something, and I walked by and I couldn't hear anything he was saying until like he just shouted, and he was talking to the producer and he was like real close to this guy's face, and he just goes, "Raspberries."
That was it?
And that's my
Did you say anything to him? I would have pissed my pants.
I was far away, and it was like these, when they're filming a movie, they have it kind of blocked off so that the crowd is walking in a specific direction. So I was just kind of walking with the crowd, and everyone, of course, is like looking over and seeing him. And I just saw him, talking with the producer, and that's all I heard him say.
I wonder if that was filmed too.
No, they didn't look like they were filming anything at the time, but I have no idea what movie he was filming. I feel like it was a movie that never was greenlit, probably. So
he's got it somewhere.
He knows. If he's listening.
He's got it on VHS somewhere.
If he's listening right now, maybe he'll comment and tell you.
One day. That's my dream. Well, my ultimate dream is to have him officiate my wedding if anyone is ever stupid enough to marry me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to write him a nice old school letter, like handwritten letter. See if he'll do it.
Like put it in a scroll too.
Yeah. Like the Declaration of Independence.
Course.
So one day I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
How is living in California though? Because I've been there. I had to go there for like some training for 3 months in LA at like the Air Force, the guard base there. Mm-hmm. I didn't like LA sucks. Yeah,
it's not what you think it's going to be when you get there. I mean, it was definitely better then than it is now, I would say for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's bum city.
Yeah, it's just progressive.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like the only way to put it. Yeah, it's just gotten worse and worse, and just the homeless issue is not getting any better. No. And it was just dirty, and I had driven there. So, but if you fly in, you can see just this layer of smog.
Yeah, I thought it was fog for a second. And then it was every day. And I was like, oh, this is what they breathe in.
Yeah.
This is why most of those, like the elites there, are just so delusional. Yeah.
And it's like it has like, the smog, you can just like feel it going into your lungs. It's just this physical substance that
it's not good.
You choke on daily, and then you just get used to choking on it, and then
and then you become an asshole. Apparently
it's in the air.
I was there do you remember that one like ex-Navy dude, or maybe he was still in the Navy, he like went off the deep end about something, he shot up a bunch of people, and then he like holed up in some cabin up in a mountain, and they actually like burned the building down to get him out.
What?
I forgot his name and the whole situation, but it was a wild scene because we can see the fire from like the hotel, like the lodging I was at, and you're just watching this happen live. I was like, this is not a place I want to live.
No,
because it was just filled with like elite people who are super fake, that just, they're not real people. They're in an alternate reality. I was actually talking about this last week about how Hollywood celebs, I feel like, are from like an alternate universe that just like there was Matrix spillover and they got stuck here.
That whole state feels like that.
The whole thing is wild. And then you have this absolutely wild scenario up in the mountains where there's police, FBI, DHS, everybody is there like melting this cabin.
Wow.
It was
nuts.
I
missed that one.
Yeah. That was
or maybe I didn't. Maybe it was like normal.
You really didn't miss anything.
Yeah. Could have been normal. But yeah, if you want to feel like you live in a simulation, you go to California.
Go there for like a week.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just a weekend vacation.
And it sucks too, because there's like for outdoor stuff, if you like that shit, like beach stuff, hiking shit, skiing, California is awesome for that.
Yeah.
It's just those damn people and the smog.
A bunch of non-playable characters.
They really are.
There,
non-prospects.
NPCs.
Yeah, that's great. But after that, is that when you joined the military right after that?
Yeah, I joined the military probably 2 years living there.
You're like, that's it. I'd rather go to boot camp.
I thought I wanted to travel and make it big out in California. And then I just realized that it was a pointless endeavor.
You can do that somewhere else.
I wasn't getting any fulfillment out of that. So I joined the military out of there.
So that was what, like 10 years ago? Yeah. Joined the military. And where'd you go from there? So you go to boot camp, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
And you've been active duty the whole time. So it's boot camp and then whatever your like shred out is. So for the lay person, it's like whatever job you're going to have, they send you to the beginner's training and then the spin up and then you get stationed somewhere.
Yeah. So my follow-on training was also in Texas. So it was in the same place. I didn't have to go very far.
That's not bad then.
Yeah.
Where in Texas? Like San Antonio?
So San Antonio was the initial training. And then I was in Shepherd. So what is that? Like Wichita Falls? Yeah. I was there for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then my first duty station was in Charleston, South Carolina. So
that's not bad either.
Yeah, I got lucky with my first assignment. So very cool. Not mad about it.
No, that's good.
Yeah. And then I got shafted, which occasionally you do. I was in Wichita, Kansas. So I went to the other Wichita.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to take a bad assignment every once in a while.
That's what they tell you. And then they fuck you over and make you take all the bad assignments.
Yeah. They get you used to taking the bad assignments to where you're impervious to taking bad assignments.
Yeah. You just assume you're just like, this is my life now. Yeah. That's where they want you. They want you want you to drink that punch, indoctrinate you. Yeah. And maybe one day along the road, you might like accidentally fall into something good.
Right. You might get a treat.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on that. It's kind of like that meme where the dog is like sitting in the fire and he's just like, this is fine.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
that's
is.
The military.
The whole experience is that.
Yeah. It really is.
I had to go down to Texas for my training too. And then I was supposed to stay there, go to Fort Hood with some like army unit as like a crossover, which I wanted. That's what I put in for. And literally on the day of like they were announcing to the students like your drop night, your whatever assignment drop night, they're like, you're going to South Dakota. Oof. And I was like, what happened? Like, I'm like,
what did I do?
Like, I'm pretty high up in my class ranking and nobody else wanted this assignment. And they're like, oh, well, the people putting in for that, like the people from that assignment, that unit fucked up the paperwork. So we had to pull the billet out and it wasn't available anymore. So instead of telling you, we just went down your list and see what was the next available on the list. And South Dakota was the only one available. So you're going to go there.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
They always say, congratulations, you've been selected for an assignment. And it's just like, fuck you.
Here's this great opportunity for you.
Fuck you.
So, and I'll never forget it. I go from Texas. It was November. It was 95 degrees. It was my father flew down to drive up with me and my dog. And the same day, one shot up, 95 in Texas, minus 10 in South Dakota. And that was exactly what it was like. This is my life now. Everything is going to be great. Everything is going to be fucking great.
It's atrocious.
Yeah. And I ended up there for 4 years. It's actually not a bad spot. Like, I was by Mount Rushmore. There was a lot of outdoor activities, but you're like on an island there.
Yeah. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, Kansas wasn't even. It was probably very similar.
Yeah, I don't know what you did in Kansas. I don't even know what base is in Kansas.
McConnell.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be boring.
Yeah. I mean, for what the job I had, it was busy. So it kept me busy at least. So I prefer that.
Yeah.
But the area wasn't too bad. I can't complain as much as some of the people that go there, and
I guess so.
They want to party and
not doing that there.
You know how it is. Like I'm just not like that. So
yeah, I guess it worked out.
It worked out for me.
Yeah. So how did you end up in the DC metro area then?
That it was the only time in my career that I had applied to go somewhere and ended up getting it.
Yeah.
And I was
deployed. That was like one of those tryout assignments, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was deployed, and before I came back, I started looking into where I might want to go when I get back, because I knew I would be hot for a PCS, for a move.
Yeah, and if you can kind of try to control your fate,
exactly.
you're gonna take that opportunity.
Yes,
yeah,
that's how I feel about it. Because if I were to come back, they would have given me orders to God knows where. So
you don't even want to.
Yeah, I thought, if I can volunteer for something that's available, I'll do it. So one of the career broadening opportunities was in the DC area. So I thought I'll put in for that. And sure enough, I got it.
Nice. So. And how long have you been here then?
Just over 2 years.
Okay.
So.
All right. So I don't know how I ended up following you.
I have no idea.
I follow a lot of military pages.
Yeah.
And then I look at like other shit on those pages, and I just keep following. The next thing you know, I have like 2,000 people I'm following that I obviously never met before.
How did I get here?
Yeah. And then what I've started doing with this, when I started the podcast Instagram page, I started adding a bunch of those same pages just so I can look like I have some sort of clout, which clearly
it's working.
Clearly it's a facade. And what I was doing at the time, I still kind of do every once in a while, is when people post like story questions or anything that you can put input in, like as a follower, I was putting some bullshit about the podcast just to get the name out there, because even if the person posts it and says like, there's no chance I'm interested in listening to this show, at least the name will be up there. It'll say, because I always made sure I put like Libretti. Have you seen the Libretti podcast yet? And most people don't even respond, or they'll tell me to piss off or whatever. So I was just like, throwaway. It was a law of averages thing.
Right.
And then your stupid ass decided to respond.
God.
And I thought it was a trick.
Yeah.
This whole thing, by the way, I thought was a trick. I'll get into that. So you respond. I was like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And you're like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, oh shit, what do I do now?
Yeah, now what? I've never been in this position.
Yeah. And then I looked and I saw your location was in this area. I was like, oh shit, maybe we can do something live instead of like a Zoom thing. So we started messaging back and forth. We're trying to make it work. And then like the one time we had it set up, you said you got a flat tire.
Yeah.
One of the oldest fucking excuses in the book.
I legitimately did.
I believe you now because we met after like another time, and it was like, okay, this person is verified. Like they're they're just not going to make up excuses.
Not a total flake.
You would have just told me like, I'm not coming. Like I'm not comfortable.
I would have had no problem being like,
yeah,
I decided that I fucking hate you. So.
Yeah. And that would have been fine too. Cause I appreciate the honesty.
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah. Tell your friends.
Keep following me.
Yeah. So I initially thought I was like, oh, they're just bailing. Shock. The story of my life is like, I get my hopes up thinking I'm going to get something, and then somebody bails on me, makes up an excuse, whatever. But then randomly, I don't know, it was like a week or two later.
Yeah.
I get this text from you. And it was like, I wish I saved it. Of course I don't have a professional camera. I'm using my phone.
Yeah.
So it's on my phone. And it was like, hey fucker, are you going to the Nats game Saturday, the Washington Nationals, for those of you who don't know? And it made it sound like you were texting somebody that you already knew was planning on going. It was like in your friend circle. And I panicked. And I talked to my one buddy who I was hanging out with that day, or a coworker or whatever. And I was like, this is the famous person that said was going to be on my show and then bailed on me. I think I'm 99% sure this is a incorrect text. She's texted the wrong person. So I even told you that. I was like, as much as I want this to be for me, I'm pretty sure you texted the wrong person. And you're like, no, idiot, it's for you.
It's for you.
I got tickets. I have 2 friends and they bailed on me. So now I'm asking a stranger.
Yeah.
So then I felt bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess I got to go with them because I feel bad.
I know.
And
leave me hanging.
Which ended up being good, because one of the things I was considering doing anyway was like, to make people comfortable coming on the show, especially since like I'm not a famous person at all. I don't have a real studio. My studio's at my house. Like to make people feel comfortable coming on.
Yeah.
Maybe like have a meeting beforehand in a public place. We can kind of talk and get comfortable with each other. So it actually worked out in that regard.
It did. And it was the same way for me. I was like, if I'm going to go and do this show, you know, it'd be cool to have a hangout session prior and have something to even just talk about.
Yeah. And we can vet each other that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And did we have something to talk about for sure?
Did we ever?
So I did that same weekend or the weekend after, I bitched about it on an episode about the whole Nationals game and the people freaking out.
Yeah.
But, we went to a game. We met up there. Good, pretty decent seats.
Oh yeah.
The game was actually pretty good. They were winning.
Yeah.
Which was not something you see every day this year from them.
Mm-mm.
We were having a good time, like learning about baseball and shit.
We got wieners.
We did a whole lot of wieners.
A lot of wieners.
Those Bud Light, I don't know what the hell they were.
It was like a seltzer, wasn't
how
it?
you
Yeah.
Which were surprisingly not bad.
They were good.
Pretty anti hard seltzers.
Yeah.
Because I just think they're like just a trendy scam.
Yeah. Well, clearly they're not.
They're not, or they are, and they worked. Well, either way.
One way or the other.
Yeah, it worked. I bought it for.
We enjoyed them.
Yeah, the $30 seltzer, and was like halfway through the game, 6th inning.
Mm-hmm.
You hear some gunshots. They were pretty clear gunshots.
Oh yeah.
Outside the stadium. Well, we didn't know at the time.
It sounded very inside the stadium.
It was very close, and I guess in reality, it was right outside
very
the stadium.
Close.
It ended up being a standard like DC ghetto altercation,
right?
Something that is pretty normal, just like mellow. our second guest of the day, and the people of America, especially Washington DC, acted as like absolutely as expected,
right?
Like everybody shit their pants.
Mm-hmm.
They freaked out. They created chaos out of almost nothing. I mean, I can see the people that were very close to the sound of the gunshots getting like startled and trying to protect themselves naturally. But we had a guy sitting behind us. I don't know if you remember this individual.
Oh, I remember this individual.
Some I don't know, some
ex-Vietnam.
Yeah. Clearly dealing with like the effects of Agent Orange,
yes.
PTSD, whatever. What I thought it was at the time, but then when he started talking, I was like, this guy does not know what he's talking about. No. He has no military experience whatsoever, because he kept screaming that he kept screaming, they're firing Mac 10 semi-automatic machine guns out there. It's chaos. And he's calling everybody on the phone to tell them about the Mac 10s.
It's awful.
And I was like, what
How do you know?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. First of all, you're wrong.
100%.
Okay. It was not automatic weaponry, but you can clearly tell by the shots being fired that it was not automatic. Second of all, you're an idiot. Like what?
You're making it worse.
Yeah. In what world do you think you screaming at the top of your lungs at strangers with families and children? In what world do you think that's going to be helpful?
Not at all. And that was the worst part, was just seeing the kids.
That was the saddest. That was legit. Everything else was just like, this is a fucking, in my head, I was like, this is a joke. I cannot believe people are just completely devolving into stupidity. And I felt terrible for the kids. And I felt terrible for the parents of those kids, because they have to help those kids out or deal with that in some way. And it was just like so embarrassing. And the icing on the shit cake was like the next day, the Nationals like Instagram and Twitter page put this thing out about like, we just wanted to thank all the fans and everybody at the stadium who dealt with this serious situation. And
we have the best fans.
Thank you so much for making this as easy as possible in this chaotic time. And I was like, I almost wrote them a letter. Like, not that I would have done anything. No,
I felt the same way.
But like I wanted to be like, the fans are the reason for the fact that you probably had to cancel the game in the first place. Yeah, because if everyone was just like going about their business, assess the situation, just like took 1 second to sit back, assess things like an adult, see that we're safe, let the security teams and the experts take care of their jobs and their business, they'll let us know and we'll move about our day.
And it's not a crazy concept because we were just standing there the whole time, just kind of like watching this chaos take place and wondering are they running towards the shooter? Do they know where the shooter is? Like, you don't know.
They're just running.
They're just running to run.
And in droves too. Like, I can only imagine there had to have been some injuries due to it because it was, I wish I had it on video because it was a legit stampede.
It was awful.
To all different exits that were closed off.
Yeah. And then even watching the video after the fact, seeing where the actual shooting took place, it was literally right where the mass crowd was running towards They were running into where the shooter was. So had it actually been happening in the stadium or right there, you're just funneling right to him.
Yeah. And I try to give the benefit of the doubt all the time because I don't know these people, they're strangers.
Right.
Maybe there might've been one like hero veteran running towards to like protect and save. Maybe he saw something.
Right.
But then then I snapped back into reality. I was like, that's not what's happening here.
No.
These are not heroes. Like these are not people trying to help. They are just devolving into chaos and stupidity.
Yeah, they weren't helping anyone. And that was another thing that they had said on the site. You guys helped each other. And I'm just like, no, the fuck they did not.
In what world do you think that was helping?
That was not helping at all.
The only criticism I had besides that by the Nationals organization was they probably could have said something on the loudspeaker a little sooner.
Yeah.
Because it was about 20 minutes.
It felt like a long time.
Yeah. Before they actually came on the jumbo mics, how you doing? And we're like, hey, it's
calm down.
Yeah, it's outside. Stand by. But nobody could even hear at that point. No. They were screaming. That dude was screaming at the security guard, like, tell us something, tell us. And this poor security bastard was just like, what do you want me to tell you, dude?
Yeah,
like, I can't know. I'll go take care of it right now and I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then the other guy, the old guy who looked like Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
he was like an usher. I want to call him a security guard.
What a lovely creature
he was. I mean, you took a liking to him.
Yeah, he just looked exactly like Clint Eastwood. He was just ready for anything to happen. He really put me at ease.
Yeah,
in that situation, his presence.
He looked like he was ready, but also kind of mad that he didn't have like his old war gear, or whatever he was back in the day, like his old soft gear.
Yeah.
And he felt, I feel like he felt bad that he couldn't help more.
Yeah.
Not that he would have been able to, because I mean, he was 1 foot in the grave, I think.
Yeah, he was kind of ready to kick it, I think.
Sunset tour. Yeah. Yeah. But the whole rest of the night was shot.
Yeah. Everyone had to leave.
Everyone left. It took us, I don't know how long to get out of the stadium and to get into like open area where we can walk and think again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this. We finally leave the stadium. We're walking up that one main street where that bullpen party area is. Mm-hmm. And there's the band playing.
Oh, yeah, like the Titanic.
That's the first thing I thought about was like, oh, they're playing us out into the sinking ship.
Right. It's been an honor playing with you.
And we were making jokes and like there's people, this is kind of mean, but there's people crying next to us. And we're like, oh, here's a Titanic band playing us out to our death.
God.
But sometimes you have to find the humor in things.
You
especially
really do.
Since like we're safe.
Right. And at that point it had been, I would say, very much long enough to know that we were fine.
Especially since they let us out.
They let us out. They told us how to get out. I mean, granted, most everyone had already kind of evacuated.
Yeah, they did their own thing. Real heroes.
Yeah, the best fans.
Yeah. But that's the one thing that was another like annoying, disheartening thing was that like people were just clinging on to the drama and chaos. Like they still had to be sad. They had to be victims.
Yes.
They had to tell, like how many people did we walk by that were calling other people or telling, like comparing stories? Like this wasn't 9/11, guys.
Right.
I know you want it to be so you can have that story because people need the clout. They need that dopamine rush of getting people like sympathizing with them and the attention. I get it. It's a human thing, but it was sad that everybody was doing that.
Every other person was just...
Yeah. Meanwhile, we got you and me, two broke dicks, just making jokes, laughing our asses off. I mean, it probably wasn't helpful, but at that point I was like, nothing's helping this.
You're right.
crowd.
I mean, what are you going to do at that point?
And then you got lucky. You got a ride out.
Yes. So we were trying to find a metro that we could get into.
Yeah.
And it was like there's one right by the stadium, but
that was
was mobbed. There was so many people there. And then we tried to find the next one.
Yeah. We had to go a little bit towards the ghetto area again, which was fine. At that point, I was just like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I don't even care.
Yeah, I don't want. You want me to hang out with these people? I'll take the bullets. Yeah, I'll take the Mac 10 shots.
Yeah, hold me at gunpoint. Like, all right,
yeah, all right.
I've been through this.
Yeah, I dealt. So you escaped.
Yes.
And I got stuck waiting all night for the metro.
Oh my gosh!
Because they of course, it was the same day because they dick up the schedules on a regular basis. It was the same day they dicked up the schedule. Mm-hmm. They were late with one train, and by the time I got to the other station, I had to change out at. Technically, the metro was closed for the night. Yeah. So they had to call in a separate train for the particular situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't get home until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to watch the whole game. I know. The game just ended.
I know. And they didn't offer refunds. They just said, we're going to continue it tomorrow. And at that point, it's...
Yeah, if you just cancel your life and come watch the second half of this game between two teams nobody cares about.
Yeah, on a Sunday.
Yeah, I was like, no, I have to do chores.
I have church.
Yeah, I got to do anything else.
I have to do the church.
Yeah, I have to pray for tougher people.
The Lord's Day? Yeah.
I can't go watch baseball.
I could never.
So after that, I was just like, well, she's never going to come on the show now.
Yeah. Fuck you.
We're just all bad luck. The whole thing was bad luck.
Yeah.
And then finally we got you on.
Yep.
So, which is awesome.
Yep.
But I want to get in a little bit to the Instagram shit, how that all started and kind of how that plays into your work life. Shit like that.
Yeah. So like I said, it happened kind of on accident. There was several military pages that had reached out to me to post my pictures and
in uniform or something.
Some of them were, but most of them were just to showcase women in military or, things like that. And so that's kind of how it started.
They were legitimate requests though.
Yeah. Yeah. These were big pages that were, showing people in the military. Okay.
Cause I get requests sometimes for women in the military pages.
Yeah.
From obvious fakes, bots. They're hey, we think you would be great to sponsor, wear this women's apparel for our page. And I was like,
have you seen me?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if my cleavage can handle it, but I am looking for clout. So what's the offer?
Yeah, how much do I get?
I'll bite. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started out mostly like that. And then I actually started doing a lot of advocacy work with the wrongfully convicted and accused.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too.
So I started doing that. And that actually got to where a lot of people were curious about it and started asking me about it. And people would ask me for, I don't want to say legal advice because I'm not licensed to give legal advice, but sort of how to navigate the legal system. And so it got me
where to go, who to talk to.
Yeah, because it just surprised me how many people don't understand that. And that could make or break your life, when it comes to being accused of a crime or even just having a friend that's accused of a crime. A lot of people don't know how to navigate that situation. So I did start studying law, started a legitimate law program. Virginia is actually one of the only states that allows you to get to take a bar exam to practice law without actually going to law school.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for that. And my father's a lawyer, and I asked him, I was like, look, I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't have the money. I don't have the desire. Are you allowed to do that? And the reason why I even asked is because Leonardo DiCaprio did it on Catch Me If You Can. So I was like, if he could do it, I can.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, no, idiot.
You can.
But I was now who's the idiot?
Yeah, Dad. Yeah, so you can. It's called reading the law. Okay. And Abraham Lincoln actually did it. So there you go.
Another shining example.
Yeah.
Lincoln
perfect
and
example.
Leo.
Yeah. So it's a real thing. So I did start that program, and basically you just have to be sponsored by a local lawyer that's willing to mentor you for 3 years.
Have to be a civilian lawyer?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't want to deal with military law because I'm already doing that. So I thought I could at least broaden my knowledge. Yeah. So I did start that program only to find out that I just definitely don't want to be a lawyer.
Oh yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah. So it's miserable, and you just start to see, or at least feel like, in my experience, that lawyers just want the sexy cases. They want what's going to make them look good or make them look good compared to the other lawyers that are in the area.
Yeah. Especially on the civilian side.
Yeah. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to actually help people that were proclaiming innocence. So that was where I wanted to go. And doing this program, you kind of have to look at all aspects of the law. So property law, just like things that I was like, I kind of zoned out on.
Not really interested at all. Yeah.
So I was like, I have a particular interest that I want to explore. So I started to get more specific with my own studies and look at wrongful conviction law, wrongful accusation law, and just kind of go with that. And the first thing I did was look at local prisons, and there's actually
around this area.
Yeah. So in Virginia, not necessarily in this area. I have one, I hate to call them clients because I don't charge them.
Yeah. You're people
advocacy cases. I don't know. So one of them is in the Red Onion, which is like Supermax prison in Virginia. Awesome. And he's been there since he was 20 years old, and it's been about 9-10 years at this point. Shit. So they have these pages on these websites. It's almost like these prisoners can build these like MySpace pages, and a lot of it is like for companionship. So they'll be asking to just talk to people or start relationships, but there's categories. So some of them will be like legal navigation. So I would go to that, and then you would get to see kind of what everyone's looking for, all these inmates, what they're asking for, what they're trying to figure out.
Right.
So there was a few that are proclaiming innocence. And so I would reach out to them, and it's literally, it's an email you send them, and it gets printed out and given to them.
Gotcha.
So I started communicating with one, and that's kind of how I picked up a client, so to speak. I let them know, like, hey, I'm not a lawyer, just upfront. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just
trying to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be a middleman. I want to hear your case, hear your side, and get it to, competent counsel.
Yeah. Cause it's a lot easier for someone on the outside to look for the help than a prisoner. And if you have that advocate, I feel like if it's just a prisoner, like asking someone, hey, can you help me? Most people could be like, no, you're a bad
in prison.
guy.
People forget about them when they're in prison. It's not a matter of justice anymore. It's a matter of, well, they're answering to the crime, so we can kind of move on. Yeah,
the crime has now been solved by somebody said it's solved, therefore you're dead to me.
Yeah, so that they're forgotten people is how I see it. And I just kind of started acting as a middleman between him and competent counsel, which I was able to secure for him at the time. And it took a long time. I think I've been working with him for about 2 years, and that's just how long these things.
Oh yeah.
How long these things take. And just to imagine that a person is proclaiming innocence for upwards of 10 years and has the evidence to prove it, and just has to find someone that'll listen.
Just to listen the first time. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I found him. And I started to talk about that a lot on my Instagram, and people just started to get interested in that, because it was like, we didn't even know this was a problem. Like, that's pretty cool. Tell me more about it. So that's kind of how my Instagram ultimately blew up.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and I still do that. And now I have 2 advocacy clients now.
Oh, cool.
So
you got that one?
Yeah, I got that one. Onion. And then about 7 months ago, I got another client. I was on a vacation traveling. I was on a plane, met this guy, and he was like a rapper, like a local DC rapper. And he's like, listen to my music,
You're like,
I'm like, great. Yeah, it's super good.
You're so good.
Yeah.
You're the next Chris Brown.
The best. So he started telling me about his music and like why he writes music. And he's like, my brother was put in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, what
are the odds?
What are the odds? And I'm thinking, like, I met you for a reason. and started telling him about what I do. And he was like crying, just like, I don't know anything about this legal stuff. And just, he's like, I'm nothing but like a high school dropout. Like, I didn't even know. And his brother's been in prison for 34 years.
Fuck.
Yeah. Upwards of 30 years. And for a murder he did not commit. Like, he's just like, I've been trying
like legitimately.
Yes.
No evidence to suggest he did it.
No.
Strange,
yes. So basically what they do is they can give you access to their case. Virginia is one of the states that if you are to request a inmate, like if you do a FOIA request, they have to give it to you.
Oh, that's good to know.
A lot of times it might be like heavily redacted and they have a lot of time before they have to actually give it to you, but they do. And so just looking at these cases and seeing what put them behind bars for 30 years, it's like, how were you able to do this?
Right. Like what did the jury see? What did like the courts see that were like, this is the guy?
Exactly.
It's wild.
They're
sometimes.
forgotten people.
Yeah.
He's in there answering for a crime that he didn't commit. And potentially the real person is just out
doing more crimes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
doing more crimes.
I think that says a lot about like the human aspect of everything in life, but specifically the justice system. It's like at the end of the day, like as fair as a system sounds on paper, it's like jury of your peers. You have a defense and you have a prosecution and you're giving evidence and this and that and all these other laws that kind of try to keep things regulated. At the end of the day, it's one guy and another person trying to convince you of something.
Yes. Ultimately, it's who has the better lawyer. And that's why I was like, I just do not want to I can't see myself being a lawyer and playing a game to get justice, because it's not a game.
No. And that's what it's become, because I think the focus switches from, and I feel like this is big time in politics too, but like again, giving the benefit of the doubt of people, I have to feel like people get into law specifically because they want to help something in some way. And they come to find out when they pull back the curtain, like, oh, if I want to get anywhere, I have to go to the dark side.
Yeah.
And
I have to play the game.
I'll play the game for a while and then I'll be in a position where I can help.
Yeah. And it just doesn't happen.
No, they just get into the game and that's it. And they're just like, now they're all consumed by winning cases or getting big cases, billable hours, whatever the motivation becomes, they lose that sense of like why they started.
Yeah, they do. And they're really looking for the cases that there's just not a lot of legwork. So that's kind of where I come in. So it's getting someone's case, because an inmate to a lawyer, they're just going to be like, okay, you're just another number to me. Right. But if it's like someone on the outside that can say, I requested this case, I've looked through it, here's what I see as far as being like a substantive case for innocence based on the Virginia law.
Right.
And so it gives them less legwork. So they're more likely to support this person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I started doing it.
And you're coming from this position of like, you're not getting paid.
Yes.
There's no incentive for you, selfishly speaking.
Yeah.
It doesn't get you anything but helping people out. So theoretically, it should be like a lot easier for lawyers to see that, or even inmates to see that and know that, oh, this person is legitimately trying to help you.
Yeah, definitely. And the second client that I have, he didn't even know that he could appeal his case. Like,
that's wild.
After 30 something years, like you
never
don't
watched
even
Law and
know.
Order?
Like, like, it's like, what are you? Yeah, he probably watches a lot now.
Yeah.
So yeah, after about 3-4 months, I found him counsel, and he's actually been granted an appeal.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah. And I mean, with appeals, who knows, especially with COVID, they're pushing these things like, it's probably going to be another year.
Right.
But that gives them time to kind of develop their case too. So,
and what's the update on the first case that you have?
The first case we did try to appeal and he was denied. So we're looking to kind of explore other avenues. His is the more compelling case too, which is kind of weird to me that we were able to get a murder case, an appeal, but his wasn't even a murder case. His was, he had actually been traveling with a friend and then it went sideways, and then he ended up trying to defend himself, shot the friend, and left. So basically he's being charged with attempted murder and robbery because he left with the guy's stuff in his car. So it's like they tack on as much as they can just based on like the totality of the circumstance.
Yeah. And depending on the situation, it's not difficult to spin that as a attempted murder / robbery.
Yeah. So the victim lived, he survived. So, there's a lot there with like testimony and more or less he was convicted on hearsay. Like what did he say versus what did he say?
Which again is as unreliable as
very circumstantial.
Yeah.
But that's putting people behind bars forever.
Yeah. It's wild. I was just listening to Joe Rogan had Amanda Knox.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I know her case.
Yeah, I'm not finished with it yet, but wild case. And this was in Italy where, and I'm an Italian. I have family from Italy. They're as corrupt as you can get when they're with their police and justice system and the whole rigmarole. And she got screwed. Yeah. And I think her whole process took 8 years, which is pretty quick in that world. And she spent 4 years in prison for a murder. She was like, it wasn't even close that there was zero evidence to suggest that she did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the story she was telling on how they painted her as a monster.
Yeah.
And now she advocates for, wrongfully accused and talks about, how like the court of public opinion is continuing to spill into the actual courts and creating like decisions. And that's why so many people are continuing to get wrongfully accused.
Trial by public.
Right. And it's wild.
Yeah. Even with the case now, with the missing girl, what's her name? Gabby Petito.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the boyfriend, it's like, everyone's like, lock him up. And I mean, reasonably you can suspect, sure. Yeah.
There's some sort of foul play. Obviously it stinks a little bit. The guy was with her, last seen with her, and then she's gone. He's in hiding.
Yeah. But when you decide that the public can just say outright, yeah, he deserves to be in prison. Like, go get him right now. Why didn't you do it sooner? When you start that, it doesn't stop. Like it doesn't become, it's not a selective thing. It becomes a thing where the justice system now is relying on, well, what do people think? And that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, what does the evidence say?
Right.
And it just has gotten so far away from that that it's scary.
I've heard stories in the past through people I'm not going to name, but in court cases and trials and whatever, like you'll have juries talking about like, here's the evidence and stuff. And then somebody will pipe in and be like, yeah, but if we follow this evidence, like we're going to get crucified because they want blood, they want this guy's head on a platter. So we had to think about that too. And it's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Like, where's the justice?
Right. It's wild. And I don't know if you ever saw that movie, 12 Angry Men, the original black and white one, old, like 50s,
I don't think so.
Frame.
No.
I watched it as a kid with my old man, and then I watched it again every once in a while. And that was the first time, like, because I was a kid, seeing how like humans, like the human factor has such an effect on stuff like this, on justice, if you will. And this was just a movie, but it made sense to me. Like even back then was like, oh, I can see how people would have thought this guy was guilty, and how they needed just one person to think objectively and like follow the letter of the law with stuff and go through evidence and understand, the different, like, I guess, motives behind what you're making your verdict on, because that's another thing too, like civil law versus, like murder or whatever I forgot what they call it. Federal. Yeah. Where it's like preponderance of the evidence versus beyond reasonable doubt. Like people don't know that nuance.
No.
And what's really disheartening too is that like these victims and the defendants, sometimes they don't know it. And you would think like their attorneys would either know it or at least tell them about it. But
no, they don't. It's more like, we're going to see the best shot of getting you out of this, or, the best chance of getting you the best case scenario. And like people think wrongful conviction is like they're completely innocent. And that's not always the case. Wrongful conviction could be they were wrongfully charged, so they didn't get the right charge.
Right.
So like my first client, he did shoot him. it was like a self-defense case. However, so the way that they charged it, it was as if it was like intentional. It was premeditated, but that's not the case. And that's not what the evidence says. So that's considered a wrongful conviction as well, is that they were not charged properly. They were not given due process.
Right. And that affects somebody's sentence and punishments and stuff. So yeah, they might know that they've done something wrong, and they definitely might have done something wrong, but death penalty and life in prison is a lot different from like a 10-year whatever.
Definitely.
So what really sucks to me is like, even if you get the appeal, you get off, you're free, you're finally get like vindication,
right?
Like the court of public opinion it's
still there.
It follows you wherever.
It's still there.
It sucks because they always preach like, prison is rehabilitatory. Is that a word? It's not, though.
Rehabilitating.
Yeah. You're supposed to come out, you serve your time. Now it's a clean slate, but it's like,
that's not how it's been perceived.
No, especially, and it super sucks for those who are wrongfully convicted, finally win and come off, and they're still treated exactly like they were if they were a murderer or whatever the crime was.
Yeah.
It's super disheartening. I mean, I guess it's still better than being in prison for life, but
sure,
maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you get out and you're like still in prison in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Depending on how long you've been in there, you could have been institutionalized by then. Now you're coming out. Now you're in this new world essentially, and you're still getting ostracized. Like that's a prison within
it
within
really
yourself
is.
Too. And it's
really
shitty.
Is. Yeah.
And there's so many cases like that. I was doing a little digging on that. I'm sure you've heard of the Innocence Project.
Yes, I've worked with them a few times.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I did a little bit on that. I think they have like 300 plus like wrongful conviction flips or cases fixed.
Yeah, like
since
exonerations.
They started. Yeah, which doesn't sound like a lot since they started in '92, but like, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And
B, like the process takes a long time. So,
and they have a lot of cases that they're just actively working for years.
Well, that's the thing.
Because that's the process. Yeah. And the thing with the Innocence Project is they will only take on a case if there is DNA evidence. So there has to be some sort of DNA evidence that was collected or can be collected that can exonerate the person. So, and that's not always the case with innocence cases. Like there might not be. They might be 100% innocent, but there's not evidence there to show that fact.
One way or the other, yeah.
Like maybe they weren't there at all. Like their DNA wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be DNA to find to prove their innocence. So whereas that is a lot, that's hundreds of people that were able to be exonerated based on their cases. There's probably hundreds, maybe even thousands more that don't have that ability.
Right. And they need somebody to help them in that world. What about like, I'm trying to remember what I wanted to ask about this. It wasn't DNA. Oh, what about like cases where they didn't have the technology at the time to like assess DNA or to do anything in the crime scene or whatever? I know this happened more so like with old cases where they couldn't like read hair follicles and things like that. But I wonder how many cases were like that where people were wrongfully convicted of something because there wasn't the technology and able to assess or evaluate a piece of evidence, and that they're just sitting there because even though the technology is caught up, there's nobody advocating to get them to appeal.
There's a lot of cases like that. So there's a lot of people that are petitioning for appeals that even the appeals process, getting it looked at, is a long process. And then potentially it just gets denied.
Yeah.
And so you can't necessarily challenge that denial based on the state. There are variables, but a lot of times they have to just keep filing for an appeal, and they have to do it after so many days. And sometimes they can't put everything. Sometimes they want to put all of the reasons that they feel like they should have an appeal, but if it gets declined, you don't have any more reasons.
Now you have nothing. So you have to play the game
like
that
you have
way
to piecemeal it. Yeah, it's a sad reality, but that's kind of the game that they have to play.
Also shitty.
Yeah. So
now I definitely I'm all about justice for bad people, but not justice for people who don't need justice.
Don't need to be there. And even when they're if they're exonerated, like you said, it's kind of like a permanent stigma. And it's like, how do they get a job without, a lot of times they've been in there their whole entire adult life or even child life. And it's like, they're missing out on a vital portion that would help them
of
succeed.
Existence. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no programs for that. There's nothing that helps them kind of readjust to that new world that they're entering once they get out.
Right. And I think that kind of speaks a little bit to the whole like prison being a rehab for people to get better, and when it's really not. And again, like you do a crime, you got to serve your punishment. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we want people to be better.
Yeah.
We don't like, we're not on these witch hunts where like you commit robbery, now you're a robber forever.
Society's done with you.
Yeah. That you're not, that's not how it should work.
Mm-mm.
You do your time, and during that time, there should be some sort of actual rehab established. And I know that's a nuanced conversation in itself. It's very complicated how to make that work effectively. But like, if you think about it, you're essentially going away into this black hole for 5, 10, however many years. No evolution, no rehab going on whatsoever. You're just existing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come out. The world has evolved around you. And you're coming into a new existence. Go get them. Also, by the way, we all hate you still.
Yeah. And it's just, they completely lose their sense of belonging. And just psychologically, people need that. They need a sense of belonging, whether you want to say they're supposed to be rehabilitated or not. If they come back into society, their individual person needs to have some sort of sense of belonging in order. And you want someone to be a contributing member of society. You should want that.
Right.
So it shouldn't just be, they shouldn't be these forgotten people. It should be, welcome back to society. Like, let's see how we can work with you.
Let's get you back up to speed.
Reintegrate you.
Right. Because if you're up to speed and back and ready for action, like, it's better for everybody.
Yeah.
Like that whole mindset of like, you're a piece of garbage, so you hang out in the corner. Like, how do you get rid of the pieces of garbage and the bad people if you don't fix them?
Yeah. There's just, it's not, there's
or
no
kill them. I guess would you just kill everybody? Like,
yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like, well, why are they here?
Yeah, just pile them up.
I mean, the whole sense of belonging. Have you? There was an experiment that was done. It was called like not rat race, rat park.
No.
Have you heard of that? So it was more along the lines of like addiction, but they had these 2 mouse cages. And one of them was...
They put humans in there?
No. One of them, the mouse had free range. It had a bunch of like entertainment shit in there, you know, like the spinny wheels and...
Nintendo and
stuff. Yeah, the Xbox.
Yeah. The Xbox.
Yeah. And then it had 2 water bottles. One was normal water and the other one had cocaine, heroin, some sort of substance in there. And there was the other cage with the mouse that he had nothing in there. But he had the waters, the plain one and the one with the drugs. One? Yes. So they found that the mouse that was in the cage where it had free range, it had the ability to have sex with other mice. It could communicate with
a regular functioning member of rat society.
Yeah. It found that it was more frequently just drinking the regular water, whereas the mouse in the other cage, it only having access to either regular water or the cocaine, heroin water, it would drink the drug water so much to the point where it was intentionally like trying to get himself to die, like overdose and die. Yeah. So they determined basically that even though it's just talking about addiction, it kind of is all encompassing with like the sense of belonging.
Yeah.
That they want to feel like they belong and they're less likely to do drugs, or in our society, it would be like they're less likely to commit crimes.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that kind of speaks to a lot of different things too, because you look at like people who live in impoverished areas where they only have those 2 choices essentially. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and the whole idea of like, I'm a firm believer in like working hard and earning everything you get in life and all that stuff, you know, mm-hmm. But at the same time, if I only had 2 things to choose from, like crime or drugs. Yeah. Like
it's environmental.
It's very hard to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps sometimes and just like, so I get it.
Yeah. It's like, what's in your cage? Is there even that opportunity?
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of places that they just aren't developing that sense of belonging with people to the point where it's almost they're complicit in what's happening to them, whether it's crime or drugs or anything. It's like, whereas, they're making the decision to do that. It's environmental as well.
Is an argument like, well, they decided to go be a criminal. It's like, well, technically that's correct. Yes. And they could have chose a different way. And there are people like outliers that have survived those shitty life situations and made it. But at the same time, it's like, that's not the answer. Like the answer should not just be, well, make better decisions and you will be out of that situation. It's like, well, if we have the opportunity and the ability to like give people better options,
let's change this.
Let's change it. And then if they make a shitty decision with 15 options in life as opposed to one or two, like
there's no excuse for it.
All right, maybe I'll shit talk you a little bit after that, but you gotta give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes and understand the actual situation. And it's always very complex and nuanced, which is another thing that I don't think people realize about anything. Like any political situation whatsoever, you only see like this or that. And it's like, it's not this or that.
It's not always
There's
like
a
that.
lot of other things that go into it. And that is just one of the life situations where it's very nuanced and people just don't understand it. I think that's like another, like, I know this whole conversation has been talking about how disheartening that life is these days. But another disheartening thing is just like the mindset of the general public is literally just everything is simple, this or that, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's almost like,
and it creates all these other issues. I think
it does, because they're almost saying if you choose this, you're rejecting this. And that's not the case necessarily. No. It's just if I go to a coffee shop and order a fucking latte, like I don't need to be judged because I didn't get a cappuccino. You must hate
cappuccinos, then, you piece of shit.
Such a
like you're anti.
How dare you? It's such a weird way of life, just like a weird concept of mind that
I can't understand it. And maybe like I always I try to step back and maybe I'm the weird guy. Like maybe I'm wrong because so many other people are thinking like this, but I'm not wrong. No. I don't think so. I think we're more on the right side.
I feel like I'm on the right side of it because at least I'm believing in something that holds true to me. And I'm not like looking out to see, well, if that's what they believe, I must be wrong.
Right. But you're also not shitting on somebody for not believing the same thing as you. That's another thing that's like a very awesome thing about this country is like, you have the freedom to believe whatever you want, and no one's going to stone you to death for it. Theoretically, I don't know about these days, but but that mindset is not translating like lately. No. Over the past several years, it's been, if you don't think like this, if you think like this, you're part of America, you're part of freedom or whatever. Yeah. But if you don't, we're gonna get you,
and you're assigned a label based on like
about everything else too. Yeah, like
if you think one way, they're like, oh, you're radical left or radical right. It's
like, why? Because I like lattes over cappuccino. Like
I just ordered a latte. Yeah. I don't know.
How do you know me as a human now?
They can determine that they know everything about you. It's like the new astrology. Like people are just like,
hey, astrology is very reputable.
What's your sign?
I could tell you everything about yourself. Can you? Thank you.
Yeah, they can tell you everything about your astrological sign, but they don't see a red flag when they date a crazy psycho. But,
no.
Like, didn't you know that? He's a Aries.
Yeah.
Like,
didn't you read that in his horoscope? The little scrolls they have at like the cash registers, the stores.
You missed all the red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the stars covered the red flags.
Yeah. So they're just, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I see it as. It's just like the new age astrology.
It is. Yeah.
Just their ability to say that because you like one thing, you hate this thing.
Right. And it's that whole one or the other. It kind of goes back into the whole like wrongful conviction thing when people get out.
100%.
Because they're always, you're either guilty or innocent. And if somebody told you guilty once, that's all they got in their brain. Now you're always guilty.
Yeah. I don't get it. The trial by public, it doesn't just happen in prisons.
No, it happens in everything. The cancel culture is out of control.
Too much.
And it's so wild that like the victims of cancel culture how many of them are like essentially bending the knee and just accepting like, you're right, I made a mistake. I said retard one time 15 years ago. Therefore, I'm a bad person. So I'm just going to cancel myself because that's what you think. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I don't know when it just kind of happened out of nowhere because if you think back to like 3-4 years, maybe a little bit longer, but I just can't remember a time when I was about to say something and then I'm trying to like, okay, is this offensive? Is what I'm about to say offensive?
Or is this going to be a problem 10 years from now?
Yeah, it's never been like that.
No.
And just all of a sudden, these people have this mindset that was never there 5-10 years ago.
No. And that, like, I have a whole little tinfoil hat conspiracy about how that has devolved essentially with the advent of like social media and the internet and like the media, like what their goals are and what the politicians' goals are and all this stuff. And I bitch about it constantly. Yeah.
I mean, you could definitely tie it to the creation of social media and just the evolution of the media itself.
Yeah. Well, just having the access to everything and then to everybody.
Yeah.
That whole concept of like, if I wanted to, I can direct message a politician right now. Like that power it's a very awesome opportunity and ability because back in the day, it's like, well, how do I reach out to my congressman or how do I get in touch? Like I want to message a celebrity, whatever it is. It's like, now you have it. And we have all that power with no kind of regulation or no guidance on it. It was just given to us. And it makes it very easy to I'll just shit on them.
Yeah. You're significantly more powerful behind a keyboard too. It's like giving people this just like
text message tough guys, I call them.
These keyboard warriors that would never say it to your face, but behind a computer screen, they have this power.
Yeah.
So social media is just giving people these big dicks.
A lot of fake power. Yeah. Like you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's scary.
Yeah.
One time it was funny though. There was this old UFC fighter. He's a commentator now, Paul Felder. He said something during like a commentary of a fight, and some guy twittered at him and was like, "You suck. You suck worse as a commentator than you did as a fighter, you piece of shit," or whatever. And Paul Felder replied to him on Twitter in public, was like, "Come say that to my face." And the guy responded back, and he goes, "No, you'll kick my ass."
At least he was honest.
And that's what Paul Felder was like. He's like, "Well, you got a point." I was like, "At least you're honest. At least you know." But it just that's whole mindset of like, and the media loves it.
Oh yeah, they prey on it.
Yeah, they kind of fuel the fire. They start the fire sometimes because once again, you could call it tinfoil hat theory. But they are for-profit organizations.
Yeah.
Their goal as a business is to make money. And how do we make money? Oh, we found the formula. Why, from a business standpoint, why wouldn't you follow it? I guess I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't think money should be the only reason, especially when you're labeling yourself to the public as a news organization.
Yeah.
And you're just pushing out like chaos and shit to create division and clicks and whatever. But from a business, I get it. And people don't understand that, I don't think, too. They just see like, oh, well, this reputable news organization told me to hate you because you like lattes. So therefore I hate you. And it's like, wait a second.
Clearly you're racist.
Yeah, you must be a racist against cappuccinos and espressos. Like, okay.
So obvious.
Yeah. I'll cancel myself.
I can't believe you didn't even notice it before.
Yeah, I'll resign from my job too because they're not going to like me there either.
Yeah, and then now you're fired because you ordered a latte.
Yeah, and now you're a criminal without being a real criminal.
Yeah, trial by public.
Yeah, and who's going to advocate for you now?
Yeah,
nobody.
That's the world that we live in, and it's scary because they're just interpreting. I mean, and with the press, it's like, what can you do? Freedom of press. Like, that's kind of the avenue that you have, and it's almost like they want it to get out of control so that constitutional freedoms like that can be changed or taken out, and that's even scarier.
Right. And that's something that if you say that out loud, there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, you're a psycho.
Yeah,
you're a crazy person, and we have to watch out for you and ostracize you now.
Yeah.
Because why would you think that? Well, that's never happened before.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's never happened before in this world, that we use chaos and fear and shitty situations to power grab.
We would never. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has heard of the Patriot Act.
Yeah. The Patriot Act or Operation Northwoods.
Yeah. Or any, like, I mean, go back in history. That's what's crazy to me. That is what's crazy to me is that, like, you can say we're conspiracy theorists and like they would never do that. You're crazy for thinking that, but it's like they already did it. Like people have already done it. I'm just telling you what has happened so that you know, like, so you can prepare for history to not repeat itself.
Yeah.
Like, here's what happened back in Operation Northwoods. Here's what led to it. This is what they did. This is the outcome. And then this happened.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can, like, people will always say, oh yeah, that was terrible. I can't believe we let that happen. You're like, we're here again.
Hi.
We're back. Yeah. Hi. It's
welcome back.
Yeah. It's the tinfoil hat guy again, trying to tell you that it's happening again.
God, I hate it.
Right.
Anything is a conspiracy theory these days. It's like they almost have just redefined what a conspiracy theory is.
Well, they do that a lot with a lot of different words these days too. Racism.
Yeah. It's
fascism.
Newspeak. Yeah.
They just make up
very
definitions.
Orwellian.
It is. But you can't say that either.
Call me a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's another, like, if that's such a laughable thing.
Yeah.
But like, I read that book in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We all read it in high school, and we all were like, this is an absolute wild existence.
Yeah. There's no way
this can happen. We would see these signs and stop it. And it's like,
you would think,
here are the flags again.
Yeah.
Like they're being thrown at your eyeballs. But no.
Mm-mm. It's not happening.
No.
Yeah. It's hard to look at that book and be like, I read it again and I'm like, I just don't want it to be.
I don't want to read it again. I don't want it.
I don't want it to be true.
Yeah, because you're reading a playbook now.
Yeah.
It seems like.
You get looked at like, you clearly want this to happen. And it's like, no, I don't, but I want to see it before it does.
Right. The way to prevent bad history is to not, like, forget about the bad history and pretend it didn't happen. You have to know that it happened. Like, you have to know about this stuff. So even reading a book that was technically not, real.
Yeah.
It's a playbook. It's like showing you how it could happen.
Yeah. It's showing you the progression of it.
Yeah. Just take that information in and make critical, like, analysis based off of a lot of information, not just like what somebody's telling you to think.
Yeah. Even just looking at history.
Right.
You don't forget things like that have happened that we've just kind of buried or
why
redefined.
Things are the way they are.
Yeah.
They don't want to look at that and be like at the time, like during these eras, this is why things were like this. And people didn't think this was bad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now we do think it's bad, but that doesn't mean they're all bad people. For, like, the whole thing about it is just, you're not a crazy person for wanting to learn more.
No.
And take in information and have your own opinion. And it's becoming that, like, mindset of like, if you do want to do that and have your own objective opinion or try to have an objective opinion, there's always bias all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to do that, I feel like you get ostracized one way or the other. You're either the fascist Nazi or you're the conspiracy, whatever it is. Like, they put you in one of those buckets again and toss you to the side. And
it doesn't make sense because you're just educating yourself on history. Like, have you not taken a history class? Why can't I do that now?
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to change. Encouraged.
Yeah, well, they're even trying to change what they teach in quote unquote history classes. Yeah. It's just like, this is what we want you to know about history. Yeah. And I know that's kind of happened already throughout because obviously the victors get to tell history sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, they get to kind of write it themselves. And then they get to decide what is taught. So it makes you wonder, like, what was I taught in school? And was there more that I should have been taught? And there is. Yeah. So you kind of realize that it's just been happening your whole life. Right. And you were just like, pass me the Kool-Aid. Right. And I, like, at that point, when you realize that, like, you're allowed to go back and find the truth, I guess you can say. Yeah. And it doesn't, and form a different opinion. It doesn't make you a bad person or a crazy person or anything. And there's too many people out there that have that mindset of like, you're crazy. Yeah. And I still like to think that the pendulum will eventually swing back. I'm always hopeful. I hope so. But I guess there's only one way to find out. Yeah, we just have to go forward. And I'm ready for the Civil War. Yeah. Again. I guess you just kind of have to be ready. Yeah, for CW too. So
we're ready this time.
Yeah, I got all my gear out and ready to go.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it's one of those like disheartening but still hopeful. At the end of the day, like go to another country and tell me it's better.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, and you hear people here that will say and act like we're in the worst country ever.
We're the worst ever. Yeah. And I'm not saying we're perfect. Obviously, we have a lot.
We're not the best country.
Right. There should always be that mindset of improvement and bettering yourselves all the time, always. The moment you don't think that, you're going backwards. So there should always be that, like, we can be better as a nation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, we're going to realize things that we did now that were wrong or bad. Got it.
Yeah.
But like, go to Afghanistan.
Yeah, go to the Middle East, please.
Any one of those places. Go as a woman.
And
I've
been over there.
I know. And then act like you would as if you're in America, and let me know how it goes.
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
A different planet.
It is. It's
pretty
a
much.
different existence.
And not only that, because before I had gone over there, you have your thoughts on what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
You have your stereotypes, like it's only natural. And then I get out there and I'm thinking, I remember being out there and asking myself, like, are we the good guys? Like, are we?
Yeah.
And that's hard. Like, that's hard to be like, what was I told out there? What do I believe at this point? Like, you question your service.
Everything. Yeah.
You question your country. And, obviously I still today feel like I'm in the best country that I could be in. I am proud to serve my country and do everything that I've done, but just getting the opportunity to go out there and squash stereotypes that I've had was something that I feel like everyone should do.
Yeah. It's very enlightening. It's life-changing.
It is.
And it's something that I think the same way as like, everyone should just go out to a war zone in a third world country.
Yeah. I'm not telling you to go to Afghanistan.
But anything that general like thought process or mindset of get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Go like leave your hometown. Go see how the people in the Midwest live.
Yeah. It's even just different states.
Yeah.
Or just completely
find a different bubble and see how they live, what they were brought up on, why they do things the way they do based on their existence in their current area environment. And you'll have a better understanding and just be open to seeing why people think the way they do. Because if you're living in New York City, like, you're goddamn right, you're not going to agree with everything the farmer in Nebraska believes in. It wouldn't make sense. Absolutely. That farmer has never seen an apartment before.
Yeah.
You've never lived on a farm and dealt with, like, your life has to do with, harvesting crops and dealing with animals. Like,
yeah.
But they, like, people too many times don't want to even think like that. They're just, you don't believe like I do? Oh, you're wrong. Yeah. It's like, not really.
Lattes, cappuccinos.
That's right. And you're allowed to question. Like, that's the one thing that I see. People are like, oh, you hate this country. You're dogging on the country. It's like, I love this country. Yeah. Obviously, I'm still here. I love serving my country, but you're allowed to question the decisions made by the people in this country.
Yeah, and you should. It's called quality assurance.
Yes. We can't get better if we just blindly let people like go and do their own thing for their own personal agendas and not ask questions.
Yeah. And I compare it to pre-washed vegetables. So you know how you can get these vegetables in the bag and it says like, don't worry, we washed it. I'm going to still fucking wash the vegetables.
I have it on good authority that they are not washed. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what process they used. I don't know what quality assurance they have, but there are people that will be like, trust it. That they're like,
the bag says it was washed. Yeah. Meanwhile, how many times have you seen on the news, like, hey, there's a recall on Tropicana bananas because there's an E. coli on them because somebody took a shit and didn't wash their hands or whatever it is. Like,
but they were pre-washed.
Yeah, but the bag said though. Why? I mean, I can't fathom it. Like
that's how I compare the world today to politics. It's like some people will just eat the vegetables.
Yes.
But some people will also just wash them, even though it says that they are already washed.
Yes.
So
I saw this meme recently. If I can find it again, I'll send it to you. It was sort of like a perspective thing on the government and the people who blindly believe the government with no questions asked. It was the one image was a person standing there, like it looked like they were getting rained on. It was sunny. They were all happy and like loving life. And they're like, this is what a person, this is an individual, like American citizen. And then on the other side of the fence, it was a guy, and it said, this is the US government. And he's pissing over the fence onto the person's face.
I already saw it coming.
Yeah.
God.
And that's what it is sometimes.
That is how it is.
And it's just the craziest thing to me is not the disagreeing of opinions, because everyone's going to have it. There's 330 million people in this country alone. Mm-hmm. We're going to have different opinions. Yeah. It's fine. It's okay. What's craziest to me is that like people don't think that should be how it is.
Yeah.
They don't think that exists. And then when somebody has a different opinion, they don't question or ask like, well, why? Where did you get that from? Yeah. How did this happen? They just immediately just go different, wrong.
Yeah. There's no perspective.
No.
I mean, it's like no one can just sit down and have a conversation anymore.
No.
With someone they don't know, because they'll just automatically.
The emotions flare.
Yeah.
Because that's what is being indoctrinated into us on what's okay. Yeah. Like, oh, somebody disagrees with you, yell at them.
That means that means that they are this and they believe this. And it's like, well, no, I don't. I just wanted a latte.
Yeah. I actually really like cappuccinos.
I love lattes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had cappuccino. It's not like it's very good. Today was latte day though for me, and that's okay.
Friday's cappuccino day.
Yeah, but if you would have known that if you asked.
Exactly. Like there's just no perspective development with people anymore.
Well, I go in again. Another conspiracy of mine is like the whole from childhood on is like now you're being taught what to think and not how to think.
Yeah.
And if we were just taught how to think or different ways to take in information and create our own opinions based off of it, I feel like we would be in a better position as opposed to like the sky is green and you're not going to question it because I am the authority figure. Therefore, that's that.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to make it a national security flag that if you do question it, you're a monster, a radical.
Yeah. Don't get me started on the focuses of the military currently in this year alone.
It's atrocious.
Wild.
It's hard to wear the uniform.
Talk about disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes into like, I talk about this too. Like, and again, I love being in the military. Yeah, like I want to do my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon until they probably kick me out, whatever. But we're like, why can't you're allowed to question them? And the whole mindset right now of these like military leaders, let me like for an education piece for the public out there, the super higher ups in the military are government appointed, which people I don't think realize.
No. Because
you don't see that in movies where like generals, like they're always going back and forth with the politicians, whatever.
Yeah.
Like just to make general, you have to be appointed and nominated by the Senate and Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So just by that like process alone, you're naturally going to eventually want to please these people so you can get that nomination or get that particular appointment to that actual high up leadership.
Political at that point.
It becomes political. How do you stay in those jobs, those politically appointed jobs? You toe the political line.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that more so now. I guess maybe since we're in the military, we see it more so. But it makes sense now seeing what the quote unquote military and Department of Defense priorities are when it comes to national security and threats within the DoD because of who the politicians in power are.
Yeah.
They're just coincidentally marry up like that.
Suddenly the priorities have changed.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me because now the entire military is being run under those priorities that don't match up to actual national security.
No,
not
at all.
Or the health and welfare of the soldiers and military members. And that's something, again, I talk about this a lot with like coworkers and on here a lot is like how many suicides a day by veterans and current military members for a number of reasons. Yeah.
It's outrageous.
It's wild. Even if it was anything more than one a day, like
that's a problem.
Right. And you can go nobody's having the conversation of like the root of it all,
No.
like putting us in positions to have to fight wars that sometimes make no sense, or
that
like
we can't question.
You can't question whatever it is, 20-year long wars that people have to constantly go to deploy to or whatever, lose their best friends, and all that shit piles on. And then there's no like back end support to these people who are dealing with this mental like prison, essentially.
Yeah. And people don't realize that with the military, there's this mindset that is ingrained in you, you know, service before self. It's like, that's your core value. And
it's literally like a written formal core value in the Air Force. There's 3 core values. And the first one is service before self. And in reality, sometimes it feels like service, not self.
Yeah, it feels like that. And it also is like, once you start questioning things, like I start to say like, yeah, I am service before self, but is the military practicing that same core value? Right. And it's like, well, at what point are those allowed to not correlate?
Right.
And for me, it's like, they always should.
They should. Oh, right. Yeah. And what the message they put out to the public never matches up to what's going on behind the curtain again.
No.
Because there shouldn't be 15 to 20 suicides of military veterans on a daily basis if they were really practicing what they preach to the public.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what's the biggest focus right now? Like, we're going to dishonorably discharge you if you don't get a COVID vaccination.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like you have
out of nowhere.
Yeah. We have there are people I know personally that have sexually assaulted human beings in the military and they got the slap on the wrist and they're still in, or they got like told to separate, but that's it. They didn't like actually get punished. They're just like, oh, you're not going to extend your contract out. Meanwhile, if you don't follow this mandate, regardless of how you feel about vaccines in general, because we don't even have to get into that, just of like something as simple as like, oh, you don't want to take this drug that we're mandating you take, and you don't necessarily know anything about it because you're not a doctor.
And neither do we, because there's no long-term data.
Right. And we're not even looking at it most of the time when we make these decisions. We're just telling you, if you don't get it, we're going to put on the table a dishonorable discharge, which for those of like the people not in the military, that affects you in civilian world.
You're a felon, basically.
Yes. When you apply for jobs, that shows up on your record. Like when they do background checks on you, like all other jobs do, they see a dishonorable discharge. And that now you're the felon. Now you're back to what we were just talking about of like, you're a permanently guilty, like bad person.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, that to get a dishonorable discharge, you have to go through like a court martial.
Yeah.
So you're essentially, for not taking a vaccine, you're being put on trial.
Right.
And it's like, how did we get here? How did we get here? And the argument is, well, you know, you're military, like you have to get all of these vaccines. Yeah, we sign up knowing that, but we, you know, this is out of nowhere. There's no time to even consider the medicine that I'm putting in my body
of this particular thing. Yeah. Like for other stuff, there's the argument that's going around specifically too for the anthrax, because apparently that's still not even like FDA approved, and we've been getting it for whatever.
It is now.
Years. It was for a while. It wasn't.
Not when they initially started mandating.
Right. And they
correct.
But that was also in the height of like, again, the Patriot Act and that whole like fear of like, oh, well, we got to get you out to deploy. So we need to get this because somebody's going to send anthrax. And that's a big fear. And people don't remember that there was pushback on that back in the day too.
It went through a lot of legal.
I believe hurdles. A lot of, there was a time where they actually put a pause on the mandate of the anthrax virus because people were having adverse effects in the military and they didn't want to get it in the first place.
Yeah, there was adverse effects, but there was also people that were launching these legal cases because there is military regulation that says they can't mandate a vaccine that doesn't have full FDA approval.
Right.
Which is why they were so quick to like approve it and get it immediately mandated. But it's still, it's not fully approved.
It's like
still long-term data has to be released. So they're kind of using this like partial approval to mandate it, when even with anthrax, it was eventually ruled that they couldn't mandate it across the board. So now it's deployment location specific.
Right, exactly. And that's another nuance that is not getting discussed.
No.
like they're comparing the two as the same.
It's not the same.
Like, well, you're mandated to do this and this and this. Is like, yeah, if I go to Africa or when I go to Afghanistan, I need to do this, this, this. Got it. It's just like we went through the whole shenanigans to get to that point. Mm-hmm. They're not doing that right now.
Yeah, it's not the same. It could be the same. It could be that, in 6 months, there's enough legal cases against it to where they say, okay, it's going to be like anthrax. It's going to be deployment
like Oconus travel or whatever it might be.
But at that point, 6 months to a year, it's like, how many people had to bend to get it? How many people got
too
out?
Scared of getting like that dishonorable, or they have like, that's another thing too, is like people, they always do that one or the other. Well, just get out. Well, wait a second. Like, I have a family.
Yeah.
I'm the sole breadwinner. Like, my husband or wife doesn't work and they take care of the kids.
And this is all I've known.
This is all I've known. Or I'm still paying off my student loan debt. And if I get a dishonorable discharge, now I can't get a job. And now I'm going to be living in a box. Like, they don't care. They're just like, easy. Oh, you have the choice. And it's like, that I don't have the choice. That you put me in this corner here.
Yeah.
And now I have to sign. And then you sign off on it, you do it. And then they're just like, well, you did it, so
you made the choice.
You made the choice to do it. So there's nothing you can't fight it anymore. You did it. It's like, well, you create,
very good at that. That's pretty much the whole of the military. It's kind of like one of those interactive video games where it's like they give you two options, and you're like, the military gives you two options, and you're like, okay, I choose this, and then you go down a different path.
Like the choose your own adventure, but but it's like the old version back when they didn't have the technology to provide more options. It's only like the Windows 95 version of like,
it's a fucking floppy disk.
Yeah, you can go like, if you only have the second installation floppy disk, you can only have two choices, and it's like, well, I guess it's
on DOS.
Yeah, that's it. That's what the military is running on right now.
That's all it is.
Well, it's tough.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah, and that kind of actually makes me think about your Instagram celebrity, if you will. Like, do you get any shit from the military at all for that? Because I know people have. Mm-hmm. There are people out there, and I'm like specifically women too, because most, like, there's not a lot of super famous military men on Instagram right now that are like current military, maybe like retired or whatever. But most of them are women, and I know a lot of them get a lot of shit or deal with some issues because of it. And some of them are kind of bringing it on themselves. Yeah, got it, but I don't know, like, how does that work with you?
Initially it did, because I would put like U.S. Air Force in my bio. And it was like, at that point, you're representing your branch, you're representing the military. So they can easily spin that as like, if you put those words in there, now you're a public representative, because which I guess technically makes sense, because you're dealing with people who are not in the military. So they just see that, they're like, oh, this is a representative of the military. Yeah. And I can see that argument. Sure. So at that point, I did, because I was, it did at some point go through like my leadership that there's a military girl that's occasionally poses in a bikini, and it's like, I wear a bikini when I go to the beach. Yeah, I don't wear my camos to the beach, like, or I don't wear sweats. My badness. Yeah, but again, it's like a Salem witch hunt. Yeah, and it's like, I'm trying to do my job, like, and this is what you're bringing to me. And so at that point, and I'm in an investigative position. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to take it out of my bio. And I even changed my Instagram name to Not a Cop. Yeah. Just to be like, fuck you guys. Yeah. So ultimately I changed it to Where is Kerri, which is what it is now. And just never looked back. But yeah, that has been an issue before. And ultimately, once I started studying the law and knowing what my military law and rights were, it was like, I know that I'm in the right here. Right. You can report me all you want, but I don't have my profession in my bio. I'm not representing my profession in my pictures. Like, there's nothing. And anytime you have any sort of opinion that you're publicly putting out there, you make it very clear that it's like your personal opinion, and it's not the opinion of my own. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. I'm not representing who I work for on my page. And so long as I'm not doing that, it doesn't matter. If there's another page that wants to post my picture, my story, my military pictures, whatever, they can do that. That's not me. That's not an extension of me.
Right. It's the internet.
Exactly. So I don't encourage women or any military members to advertise that they are a military member if they want to be an opinionated person. Like, I'm pretty opinionated on my page. Like, I've learned to kind of embrace my views, and I've realized that if I'm going to speak my views and defend them, I can't put what I do for a living.
Sure.
And that's just kind of the sacrifice that I've made. But most people know what I do. I'm willing to talk about it. So it's not like one of those things, but I'm just not willing to represent it on my page.
And you should, you shouldn't be you're not speaking on behalf of that position.
And never was I before, but it's just one of those things that
you just got to be careful. You have to be careful so they don't try to nail you on that.
So now they can't do that.
Yeah. Well, how about going back to the court of public opinion? Have you seen any positive, negative effects in your work social circles or anything like that because of the fact that you're super famous?
I must not be that famous, because I've never run into anyone or had to interact with someone that was like, "Oh, I know you from your Instagram."
Yeah.
But I mean, if I did, cool. Like, I would have instant rapport with that person. It would be, to me, it's a benefit.
Right.
So even just based on what I do, it would be a benefit to me if they were like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." Boom. Yeah. Like, now we have rapport. We can talk about what we're going to talk about. So,
plus, there's not many people that follow pages on social media of pages or people that they don't share some sort of commonalities with as far as beliefs and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not I have to imagine there's not going to be a lot of followers of yours that are coming to you and be like, "I follow you because I hate you."
Right.
That's not how it is.
No, it's not how it is. And there's been some people, 99% of people that follow me and actually interact with me, they're willing to challenge me, respectfully.
Sure.
But it's never anything. 99%, it's always been positive, even if they don't agree with me. So
yeah, which is probably very a pleasant surprise.
It is. It really is. Because so many of my friends are like, "Oh, you probably get a lot of hate online." And I don't. I very rarely does someone just come on and say, "Die, Trump supporter."
See, I'm actually surprised about that.
Yeah,
again,
I don't get
easy.
that.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And it's
that's good.
I don't know if it's just because I carry myself in a way that person will know that I'll be able to defend myself.
Yeah, fucking take it back.
Yeah, or it's I can't work with a disagreement like that. If it's "Die, bitch," it's I can't work with that. Give me something else.
Right. Well, at that point, you're what I like to call fighting a battle of wits against an unarmed man.
Yeah, I'm just not willing to do it.
It's all right,
this isn't fair to you.
No. And what was that one quote? Was it Mark Twain? He said, never have a battle with a stupid person, because they'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. Yeah. So it's just it's not worth it.
It's really not.
Yeah. So same on the haters side.
Yeah. Maybe once a year I'll get something like that. And it's just easy for me. It doesn't impact me in a way that I'm
probably laughable
my life
at
is
that
ruined.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's just, like I said, 99% of it is positive. So at that point, it's I know you're just a shitbag because.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for those. I talk about that too. Yeah. I feel bad for those people because most of the time, on either end, the majority of people in the social media worlds, if you're sending shit out, if you're being an asshole, there's something going on. Yeah. Whether you and I actually said this last week too. If you're a troller or a shit poster, and not as a joke to your friends and just ball busting or whatever, but if you're actually being a shitty person online, and you feel bad about it, and it makes you stressful and depressed, that should be an indicator that you should probably change your ways.
Yeah.
If you feel good about it and happy, and that gives you satisfaction that you shit on somebody famous or whatever, that should also be an indicator that you should change your ways.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel good about being an asshole to somebody. Mm-hmm. So, and it's on the other side too, on the receiving end, there's a lot of people that take that shit to heart. And the sender never really thinks about that. They doesn't think about how it actually affects. I mean, it's good that you brush it off and you can deal with it, but there's a lot of people that can't.
I know.
And it affects them in a bad way.
There definitely is. I mean, it just goes back to what we were talking about, those people that get the big dick energy behind their keyboard. And it's like, I know that this person would never confront me in public and say that. And at that point, it's like, I don't care. Yeah.
When I see that, well, I mean, I don't have enough followers to get any hate besides my friends busting my chops. I have
hundreds of followers.
I have
what
dozens
are you talking
of followers.
about?
Yeah, I have a couple of burner accounts from people. I know who they are.
Yeah.
And they're just throwing hate, and it's funny to me. But like, I see that every time somebody hates on me in real life, whatever it is, I just like, oh, I feel bad for you. Like, I pity you now.
I'll pray for you.
Yeah, I'll go to church on Sunday and pray for you, because
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, because it's like I try to empathize. Like, something's going on in your life where you like your existence now revolves around hating on others.
Yeah.
Like, who hurt you? And I'm not going to fight back. Now, if my life is on the line,
that's another thing.
Yeah, I'll defend myself. But nobody's going to do that in real life.
No, you're behind a screen.
Yeah, I'm a text message tough guy.
Yeah,
hiding behind the comfort of my computer, which is great.
Yeah.
But all right, I don't know how long we've been going. We've been flapping our gills for a long time now, but we'll cut it because I could talk to you all day. We'll have you back on for sure.
For sure.
Before we go, though, something I like to do now to help my jabroni junction out there, just try to be better people and be happier with their lives. I call it the big three. So number one, these are the three things I think that people should do or try to do and focus on every day to help them become a happier, better, less stressed person, and then spread that to others. And I know you're already tracking that because you probably listen to all my episodes.
Every single one.
So you're already tracking that. But first one is exercise every day. Do something every day. Not like it doesn't have to be a full 2-hour-long workout in the gym, whatever, anything. I say literally anything. Jumping jacks while you're watching TV, going for a walk after a meal, any sort of physical motion and movement that gets the endorphins going in your body and gets you physically, active. And I always say that it helps you physically, which in turn helps you feel better mentally and emotionally, because it's not just like a mental thing where it's like, oh, I feel good, I feel accomplished. You're chemically getting endorphins through your body and the dopamine and all those things happening that are good. And you feel better emotionally about yourself. And then physically, you're just going to be healthier.
Definitely.
So that's number one. Number two, probably the hardest one, and we've been talking about this all day, is don't be a shitty person. The easiest thing you can do, I think, in this day and age, especially on the internet, is be a shitty person to somebody, like for real. Again, not shit talking your friends and just going back and forth and doing that, but like seeing an individual online and just being a piece of shit to them because, oh, this is just an Instagram handle of me. This is just a Twitter. This is nobody I know. Like, they're not a person. They are a profile.
Right.
It's so easy to do that, but we have to remember that on the other side is always a human being that used to be a kid, like an innocent, happy-go-lucky kid that for whatever reason, even if they're a bad person, something happened to them that led to that. So you might think they're bad or corrupt or whatever, but they're still a human being. That shit still affects them. So think about how you feel when people shit on you in real life or behind the keyboard, and understand that and empathize with that before you decide to be a shitty person. The third one I say is probably the most important to me is to be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Because again, it's so easy to just get into the fog of the negative during the day. That's people love complaining and they love venting and they love bitching about how hard things are and how hard their lives are, because that gives them that sympathy, that dopamine rush from people giving them sympathy and attention. Got it. But if you're genuinely thankful and grateful and focusing on the good and being grateful for all the good things you do have, especially compared to some places, like we have running water here. Yeah. I've been to places and you've been to places that's not even a thing. They don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
That's wild to me. So I'm absolutely grateful that I have a flushable toilet. It sounds so silly,
Yeah.
But
take it for granted until
go spend a day in a place where you don't have that.
One day.
It's miserable. I did it for one day before I got to like my bunk when I was deployed, and I was like crying. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not ready for war.
Quitting.
Yeah, I can't do war. I can't. Like, I was in shambles. So when I got back here, I was like kissing the ground.
Yeah.
And I think that if people are genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good they have, and they show it to like to the people in their lives, spending time with them, letting them know, that good will consume you. And you couple that with empathizing with human beings and not being shitty, and you couple that with exercising and feeling physically better about yourself, that all comes together as the big three and spreads to others. Like, the good is just as contagious as the bad. We're just seeing more of the bad pushed out there, so it seems like it's not the case.
Right.
So I always try to end the show with the big three to remind people there's good out there. Here's what you can try to do. Just 3 simple things, simple in concept, to try to be that better person for yourself and for others. And I think if people actually genuinely go after that and try it, they'll see it. They'll eventually see it. It's a lifestyle change. You're changing your environment.
Yep. Those things are contagious.
That's it. And that's all I got.
Boom.
Kerri, how can people find you? Do you want more followers?
Sure. Yeah.
You'll get 40 more from all my followers.
All
sure.
40.
So where can people find you?
I am on Instagram. It's whereiskerri _ after where and is.
Got it.
Kerri.
Where is Kerri? Pretty simple.
Where is Kerri?
I'll tag you when this posts next week.
Sweet.
I'll tag you in it so people can find you. Do you run all the advocacy stuff? You can be contacted through there too?
Yes, I can be contacted through there. I check all of my messages. I don't always respond.
I don't know how. I know that's got to be exhausting.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's something substantive in response to what I'm saying, or if there is someone that's asking how to navigate legal concepts and whatever the case may be, that's the best place to get a hold of me. So,
awesome.
Yep.
Thanks so much for finally coming.
Yeah.
This is great. We'll do it again. We'll talk about better stuff. We don't have to talk about the deep dive shit. Yeah. We can shit talk anything now. So no hold bar next time. Yeah. But thanks for coming. Thanks for bringing the dog. That made my day too.
You're welcome.
So we'll have you back on. Guys, thanks for listening. I love every single one of you. I always joke about having no followers, but you're really my ride or dies. Thank you again. I love you all. Stay strong.